Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, reading from Canto 6, Chapter 4, Text 7, the reading about the Prachetas and Prajapati Daksha. And this is the Bhagavatam, translated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder Charya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we're reading from, this is available for free download, the Bhagavatam, that we're reading from the 1976, 75, 76, first edition Bhagavatam. And it's available at the website krishnapath.org. It's a free download available there. So this is text 7. And at this point, Sukadeva Goswami is relating to Maharaj Parikshit about the Prachetas, who were the 10 sons of King Prachanabarhisat. And this is from way, way, way long time ago. This is going into ancient, very ancient times, very close to the beginning of the creation of the universe. And the universe, it's so early on that the universe isn't even populated enough yet. The creation of the universe took place, and now the populating of the universe is taking place. So this goes way back. And King Prachanabarhi was performing austerities. He was performing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, sacrificing animals. The way those sacrifices work is the animal goes into the fire and the mantras are chanted. When they're chanted properly, the animal comes out with a new body, is rejuvenated, not destroyed. It's rejuvenated. But still, Narada Muni, the great Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, instructed King Prachanabarhi not to waste his time with Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, because even if they're performed perfectly, the only real benefit one can get from performing these sacrifices is elevation to heavenly planets, higher planets. And that's still within the jurisdiction of the three modes of material nature. So he instructed him to stop doing the sacrifices, instead go to the forest under the direction of Narada Muni, the devotee of the Lord, and perform austerities. In that way, helping King Prachanabarhi to make a connection with devotional service, because he's following the instructions of a devotee. Meanwhile, the 10 sons of King Prachanabarhi were under the water in the ocean, performing austerities. And when they emerged, came out of the ocean, and from doing their austerities, they noticed the planet had become overgrown with trees. So very often what happens in performing austerities, one becomes rather hard-hearted. And when they came out and they saw the planet overrun with trees, they became angry. And anger is not something devotees want to have. They want to have compassion and tolerance. But by performing austerities like this, the tendency is to become harsh and angry. So that's what happened to them. And they began to burn the trees. Their austerities had given them great power. They actually could emanate fire from their mouth and their eyes. They were just emanating this fire, burning all the trees. So Soma, the demigod of the moon planet who oversees the nice growth and management of the vegetation, was very disturbed that this would be going on. So he approached the Prachetas. And this is, I believe this is Soma speaking now to the Prachetas to get them to stop doing this. O greatly fortunate ones, you should not kill these poor trees by burning them to ashes. Your duty is to wish the citizens, the prajas, all prosperity, and to act as their protectors. So the Prachetas are the son of King Prachinabarhi, who is now giving up his kingdom. Prachetas are evidently now taking up the royal order. And prajas doesn't just mean human beings, it means all the living entities under the jurisdiction of the rulers. They're to see to the welfare of all the living entities, the animals, the birds, the insects, the fish, the trees, the plants. They're all under the jurisdiction of the ruler, the ruling class. So he's reminding them of that. Why are you destroying them? You're meant to guide and protect them. Prabhupada's commentary, it is indicated herein that the government or king has the duty of protecting not only human beings, but all other living beings, including animals, trees, and plants. No living entity should be killed unnecessarily. So we can understand what the qualifications of leaders are, that this is their duties, and that's what they're supposed to do. Of course, in Kali Yuga, oh my goodness, everything's a mess. Everyone's suffering horribly. The people, the plants, the animals, the trees, the birds, the fish, everything, everyone's suffering due to lack of good leadership. Now, leadership is guided by the Brahminical class, those that know and study and preserve and preach and teach from the Vedas, from the scriptures. So there's Kali Yuga, there's a huge breakdown, and that's the Varnashram system for the smooth running of society, so everyone's peaceful and they can have an opportunity to make some advancement in life without always being frantic just over the basic necessities and always disturbed and agitated. They can become a little peaceful when everything is running smoothly, and then they can turn their attention toward the actual goal of life, love of God and transcendence, detachment from material life and attachment to spiritual activities, preparing to go back home. So the moon, Soma, the moon god, is reminding them. But also other living entities, their responsibility of the rulers. No living entity should be killed unnecessarily. So also sometimes killing is going on, but not unnecessarily. In the Battle of Kurukshetra, there was a lot of killing going on. And Arjuna's question was, is this really necessary? And Krishna said yes. It's why Krishna appeared. He appears to annihilate the miscreants and to give protection to the devotees. So sometimes that kind of killing does take place. So real nonviolence is to always glorify Krishna. And the opposite of that is violence is not to give knowledge of Krishna. That's actually violence, because then remain subject to the modes of material nature. And what could be more violent than birth after birth, cycle of birth and death, reaction after reaction in ignorance, birth, death, old age, and disease. So real nonviolence is to illuminate the path of devotional service for the benefit of all living entities. which is what Vaishnav does. That's what the pure devotee does. They have no other reason for being in the material world. Certainly didn't come here to try to enjoy and lord it over. They're messengers of Krishna. They're here to give this ultimate nonviolence. So there's violence against the outer covering, the gross body, killing, slashing, cutting, burning, punching, whatever. And there's violence against the subtle body, giving misinformation, cheating, lying, stealing, clouding the path of real knowledge, keeping one in ignorance. It's violence. Anything that keeps the living entity in the ahamkara, I am this body, I am this mind, it's actually violence. So the real nonviolence is, of course, not unnecessarily killing, slashing, burning, cutting, fighting, punching the gross body, of course, unnecessarily. And the real nonviolence is to illuminate the actual path back home, back to Godhead, a message of surrender to the Supreme Lord. His name, fame, qualities, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia. So that's the mission of the devotees, is that ultimate nonviolence. Nonviolence not just on the material platform, but nonviolence on the gross platform, subtle platform, and spiritual platform. Completely nonviolent. Ultimate nonviolence. No more birth, death, old age, and disease. Text 8. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, is the master of all living entities, including all the Prajapatis, such as Lord Brahma. Because he is the all-pervading and indestructible master, he has created all these trees and vegetables as edibles for other living entities. Okay, so Soma is the demigod of the moon planet. He's very highly situated, and he is very much aware that his service of overseeing the welfare and the management of the vegetation, he sees the whole picture. He's explaining here to the Prachetas. He's instructing them in service to the Supreme Lord. So he's saying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, who is his master and everyone's master, is the master of all living entities, including the Prachetas. Now, okay, that's why the sentence didn't make any sense. I'm sorry, I misread it wrong. Let me try that again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, is the master of all living entities, including the Prajapatis. So it is Soma still speaking. He's speaking to the Prachetas, and he's explaining the position of the Supreme Lord and how these trees and vegetation fit in with the Supreme Controller. He's the master of all living entities, including the Prajapatis, such as Lord Brahma. Because he is the all-pervading and indestructible master, he created all these trees and vegetables as eatables for other living entities. So the Prachetas, for all their austerities, they really couldn't see, so to speak, the forest for the trees. They perform these incredible austerities, get all this mystic power, and then just get angry without any real knowledge. It's said that someone who isn't very intelligent, if they're given good instruction, they simply become angry. So they make up for what they lack in intelligence and understanding with anger. So the Prachetas, with all their austerities, They weren't particularly intelligent, but now they're getting instruction from Soma. So they're getting some intelligence by the mercy of a servant of the Lord. So, commentary. Soma, the predominating deity of the moon, reminded the Prachetas that this vegetation's been created by the Lord of Lords to provide food for everyone. If the Prachetas tried to kill them off, their own subjects would also suffer. The trees also are required for food. Yeah, not just people. I mean, there's a whole interaction. What is it? Chaitanas Chaitananam, or Nitya Nityanam. There's a verse that one living entity is food for another. It's just the way it works in the material world. The birds are eating the worms. The ducks are eating the bugs. The four-legged animals with hoofs and like that, they're eating all the vegetation. And like this, everyone's eating everybody else here. It's just the way it works in the material world. Nice place, huh? Hare Krishna. So, he's reminding that the Lord has provided these trees and vegetation, because if they're burning the trees down, they're burning everything down. They're burning the grass, because it's a fire, it's consuming everything. And what to speak of the living entities who are inside these forests, they're also becoming consumed by this fire. So such destruction's unnecessary. Lord Shiva, when it's time to bring the material creation to an end, he consumes everything with fire. It consumes everything, destroys everything. So they were doing this, and Soma's reminding them, this is really out of line, because your own subjects are now suffering by you taking this kind of wrath on the trees. Anger is like that. It can go into a rage and becomes blind. Sometimes if someone has this blind rage, they will attack an innocent person nearby them just because they're the closest thing to attack. The body changes with rage. The chemical composition of the body changes. And they don't think very clearly. When they're the body thinks it's an emergency, and so it's not in analytical mode, it's in action mode. So sometimes those actions are irrational. So it looks like that's what happened to the Prachetas. They lost their good reason due to this anger. Text 9, Soma's reminding them. By nature's arrangement, fruits and flowers are considered the food of insects and birds. Grass and other legless living entities are meant to be the food for four-legged animals like cows and buffalo. Animals that cannot use their front legs as hands are meant to be the food of animals like tigers, which have claws. And four-legged animal, deer and goats, as well as food grains, are meant to be the food of human beings. So, human beings have a choice. They can eat animals, or they can follow good guidance and eat food grains and vegetables and fruits like this. They have a choice. Human being has a choice. And he doesn't say here they can eat cows. He says here four-legged animals like deer and goats. That can be done. For those wishing to make spiritual advancement in life, it's recommended they don't take food from that category. And take from food grains, fruits, vegetables, and offer to the Lord. Because grains and fruits and vegetables and carrots and they also have life. So there's also a reaction for eating vegetable food stuff and taking life. So, but those things can be offered. Krishna explains, you have to eat something. It's the material world. Everyone's eating everybody else, okay? So if you take from that category of living entity, the plants and the fruits and milk from the cow, it's very minimally violent, very, very minimal. And if you offer those things as an offering to Krishna before you eat, and then you take the remnants of that offering, then there's no reaction. Krishna's arranged it like that. Prabhupada's commentary. By nature's law, or the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one kind of living entity is eatable by other living entities. As mentioned herein, Dvipadam cha chatushpada, the four-legged animals, chatushpada, as well as food grains, are edibles for human beings, Dvipadam. These four-legged animals are those such as deer and goats, not cows, which are meant to be protected. Generally, the men of the higher classes of societies, Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, do not eat meat. Sometimes Kshatriyas go to the forest to kill animals like deer because they have to learn the art of killing, and sometimes they eat the animals also. Shudras, too, eat animals such as goats. Cows, however, are never meant to be killed or eaten by human beings. In every shastra, cow killing is vehemently condemned. Indeed, one who kills a cow must suffer for as many years as there are hairs on the body of a cow. Manusanita says, Pravritir Esha Bhutanam Nivritis tu Mahapala. We have many tendencies in this material world, but in human life, one is meant to learn how to curb those tendencies. Those who desire to eat meat may satisfy the demands of their tongues by eating lower animals, but they should never kill cows, who are actually accepted as the mothers of human society because they supply milk. The Shastras especially recommend Krishigaraksha. The Vaishya section of humanity should arrange for the food of the entire society through agricultural activities and should give full protection to the cows, which are the most useful animals because they supply milk to human society. So, it's not that everyone is going to become a vegetarian. You can see from this verse, it's just not going to happen. But the members of the upper sections of society, those who are responsible to subordinates, who have responsible positions for managing things, they don't eat meat. The Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas. So it said here, sometimes the Kshatriyas will kill animals. They have to learn how to kill. They're warriors, they're fighters. So they'll go to the forest and they'll hunt something and kill. And then sometimes they will also eat it. So, this is Kshatriya. Sometimes Arjuna, they do like that sometimes. Kill a tiger. Or here he says, Prabhupada says, sometimes they'll go to the forest and they'll hunt a deer. Soldiers, they have to be prepared in battle to shoot and kill human beings. Not that they kill and eat the human being, but they have to be prepared to shoot and kill even human beings. So they practice. But the Vaishya never, the Brahmin never, they don't eat meat. As a matter of fact, the Vaishya is explained here is protecting the animals, especially the cow. And he's growing the food grains. So where is there the need to eat meat? But Sudras sometimes. But never cows. Because the cow gives very valuable substance. This milk is very valuable substance. It's very, very nutritious. This is like the real milk, not the milk that goes through the industries now. They tamper so much with the processing of the milk that it's very, actually not a good idea to even take it. And, there's no choice sometimes. You have to take that milk. But many people develop allergies. They can't even drink it because there's a profit motive that gets in there, and so many different types of chemicals are used to try to get more out of the poor cows, and they're not treated very nicely. They're just like treated like they're machines. They're actually milked with machines. So it's not very good. It's not, the integrity of the industry is very questionable because of that profit motive. It's not. They're not keeping dairy farms for serving Krishna. It's a business. But their natural propensity, these dairy farmers, is to work with animals. That's their natural propensity according to the modes of material nature. But they're not being guided how to do it nicely so that Krishna is pleased. Instead, they're caught in a cycle of a kind of economic slavery to the economics. Dictates how they do their farming. Even if they didn't want to kill the cows that don't produce anymore, because of the economics, they can't afford. And they have to do it a certain way. So the economics is a problem, and this is the Kali, personality of Kali, is very, very powerful in the field of the money and the gold. This is where he hides. And all the other problems come out. Kali's able to, personality of Kali is able to propagate all the miseries on the human society and ultimately everyone else through the contamination of the profit motive, the greed for money, connected to sense gratification, and then there's no integrity in the different sections of society. There's no integrity. So, big problem. Kali Yuga. Remedy, chant Hare Krishna. Hear from the pure devotees. And so we hear here how it works. And the more we hear, the more we get purified. And then we make our decisions based on good intelligence. And so, like this, people become more and more Krishna conscious. And then they can make the right decisions. Not to be victimized by personality of Kali. Text 10. So Soma is relating all of this to the Prachetas, who are simply caught in some sort of a blind rage. Just want to destroy everything. Actually, when there are problems in society that can't be solved, like a runaway debt or conflicts between countries over commodities, basic necessities, either water or minerals, and there are conflicts. If they can't solve it, then they just destroy. They destroy each other. They fight. They become frustrated and angry. They're attached, become frustrated and angry. They can't solve the problem, so they fight. So these are how these wars come, these really big wars. This is how they come. They are problems, diplomatically, territorially, economically, and these different problems. And they can't solve it. They can't come to terms, so they fight. And then many, many people are killed. So many buildings and infrastructure is destroyed, and then they start over again. Whoever wins claims it all and makes the others subservient. And then they're very busy building it all back up again. So this is the three modes of material nature. Creation, maintenance for some time, and then destruction. And then it starts over again. It just continues on and on like that. There's no relief. That's the modes of material nature.